everybody. Welcome into the Dixie Vodka Postgame Show. I'm Hannah Chalker alongside Dog Nation editor Daniel Shirley. While we wait for BA to get settled, we are here with you. We are here with you guys. An unbelievable game for the Dogs. A 4-hour game. I'm exhausted. I know you guys are exhausted. Final score 54-48, double overtime. And what a night for the seniors.
What a night for these seniors. You know, the running game, everybody talked about the running game going into this game for Georgia. Sony Michel had a huge game. Nick Chubb had a huge game. So it's just what a great day for Georgia fans. What a great day for these seniors. What a great day for the Bulldog Nation, Dog Nation here on our show and on our site. I mean, it's just a great day all the way around for Georgia football.
Dog Nation, welcome into the Dixie Vodka Postgame Show. I'm Hannah Chalker alongside the Dog Nation editor Daniel Shirley. Oh my God. I don't know about you guys, but 4 hours later, this has got to be one of the longest games in the college football playoff semifinal record. Final score is 54-48, double overtime. And while we wait for Brandon Adams, who's live in Pasadena, you're stuck with us, guys. And let's talk about this game and what a night for the seniors, Daniel.
Well, you say 4 hours. Every bit of it is worth it, right? If you're a Georgia fan, this is everything you've been hoping for since 1980. These seniors were just unbelievable in this game with Nick Chubb and Sony Michel. Lorenzo Carter gets the block of the field goal in overtime. And that senior class that has meant so much to this program this year, they all stepped up tonight and just had a huge game. And now the Bulldogs are one game away from a national championship. It's just a great night for Dog Nation.
This really was a game of two halves for the Dogs, too.
Yeah.
They came out from the second half completely fired up. The defense really stepped up. There was a difference. They really pounded the rock, ran the ball, more like Georgia football. Yeah. What did you see in the difference between the first and second half?
Well, Kirby Smart said at halftime, he told the team, relax and go play. And they looked like a much more relaxed team in the second half. They went and played like they've played all year. They dominated both lines of scrimmage. They dominated the field position in the second half. They come back and take the lead, and then Oklahoma makes just a couple of huge plays to retake the lead. And then you see the heart of the Bulldogs in the fourth quarter there. They drive down, tie it, and then in overtime, just all heck breaks loose in overtime. And now the Bulldogs are one game away from a championship playing in Atlanta next week. And it was just one of the best college football games we've ever seen in the history of the game. And for it to be on that stage, I think says everything you need to know.
Yeah, I mean, you said it, one of the best college football games in history. And the irony of it all, if you guys were watching the first quarter when Rodrigue Blankenship missed the field goal just by inches in the first quarter, you saw Baker Mayfield do the slit the throw action, said this game is over. It was caught on ESPN. Well, guess what? It was not over. And the irony, Lorenzo Carter, the senior, blocks the field goal in double overtime. Amazing. What was your thoughts?
Just amazing. And in the first half, it did look like it was over. I mean, Oklahoma did everything right in the first half. Georgia really couldn't get anything going. They get the late field goal at the end of the first half, a long field goal from Rodrigo, and that just kind of changed. It almost felt like the Bulldogs just kind of took a big sigh of relief at halftime and just came out and looked like a different team in the second half. And they dominated up front. I mean, they whipped Oklahoma on both sides of the ball. Offense, defense, special teams made some big plays with Mecole Hardman, and those guys just played their hearts out in the second half. And in the overtime, you saw the celebration on the field in the Rose Bowl, and it's just a great night. It's again, if you're a Georgia fan and you were around in 1980, this is everything you've been hoping for since then, and now you get to see it all these years later. It's just a tremendous night for Dog Nation.
One of the biggest stats in this game, too, is that UGA heading into this one was second in the nation in defense efficiency, second in the pass defense. How do you think they shut down Baker Mayfield in the second half? Well, I don't know if shut down's the right word, Daniel, but how do you think that the defense overcame Baker Mayfield in the second half? Because they did it in the first.
Yeah, they did shut him down for a quarter and a half, and then he made some plays. He's the Heisman Trophy winner. He's going to make those plays. But I saw a team that was much more aggressive on defense. They tweaked some things here and there. I don't think there were huge strategic adjustments in the game. coming out of halftime, but it did look like they were a lot more aggressive and they were a lot more physical. And you saw a team that dominated, again, up front on the offensive line and the defensive line. And when you're able to do that, you can shut a team down like they did for a quarter and a half. And, again, props to Oklahoma. They made all the plays there at the end to take the lead. But then you see that, that heart of the Bulldogs to come back and make the big drive at the end. And Jake Fromm, again, freshman quarterback. Is he a freshman, really? He doesn't look like a freshman, right? He made all the plays that people have said all year he can't make. And they tie it up and go to overtime, and it's just a tremendous. If you're a Georgia fan, how can you not be prouder of this group and what they were able to accomplish tonight?
How can you not be more proud? Let's get some of your comments in here. Fans who are watching, James Crump is here. Smart always makes excellent adjustments in the second half all year. No difference in this game, so thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. Kirby has a great coaching staff, and you can't overstate that coaching staff. And you saw Mel Tucker and Kirby and the rest of that defensive staff. They made, again, some small strategic changes at halftime, I think, but really mainly they said, let's just go play and stop being kind of on the – Georgia looked like they were on their heels a little bit in the first half. The second half, how many times did you see Roquan Smith light people up in the second half? Big hit in the overtime, a couple of big hits early in the third quarter. And he just looked like he was ready to play, and the entire defense just followed his lead.
All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. This is the Dixie Vodka Postgame Show. That's Daniel Shirley. I'm Hannah Chalker. We just filled some time while we're waiting for the real main event. That's Brandon Adams live in Pasadena. BA, oh my goodness, go Dogs. All right, we're having a few technical difficulties with Brandon Adams, but we will keep trying to get him on because I know that you guys want to hear from the faithful Brandon Adams, who has been in Pasadena all week long, right, Daniel. There's been a lot of media events. There's been a lot of stuff we're covering. Full coverage here on Dog Nation, so thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to try our best to get Brandon Adams, but you're stuck with us. That's Daniel Shirley. I'm Hannah Chalker. He's the Dog Nation editor. So again, just to take a look back at this game, we are all smiles here on Dog Nation because this is the best game in college football, and is going to go down in history for one of the best games in the new college football playoffs. Yeah. Georgia has punched their ticket to Atlanta to play the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, the national championship against the winner of Alabama-Clemson. Just thoughts on the atmosphere there that we saw through the screen. We're not in Pasadena like VA is, but thoughts on this game. Thoughts on this game.
You saw how many Georgia fans were at this game. I mean, it looked like it was 70-30 Georgia, maybe 80-20 is what we were hearing, and you heard the UGA chants and you heard the Redcoat band playing, and when Georgia started to make their move, Kirk Herbstreit or Chris Fowler one said, this sounds like Sanford Stadium, and it really did. It was just a tremendous atmosphere. And now imagine what it's going to be like next Monday night in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium with Georgia playing for a national championship. It's just going to be insane. It was insane tonight. I know that Brandon and the guys really enjoyed what they saw. All the Georgia fans who were out there, we were kind of talking about it when they got down, how long that flight back was going to be. A lot of people taking a red-eye flight back after the game. Now that's just going to be a joyous flight back, and people are going to enjoy it and have so much fun coming back. And those planes are going to be filled with Georgia fans, and they're just going to have probably won't be able to sleep, probably be smiling the whole way back, and it's just going to be what a great night. And then now we've got another week to play for a national championship for the Georgia Bulldogs. It's just unbelievable what we saw from this team and this heart that we saw from this team tonight. And again, I said it before, I don't know how many times I can say it. If you're a Georgia fan, you can't be any prouder than what you saw of your team tonight.
Unbelievable night for the fans, unbelievable night for the seniors. Sony Michel, 11 carries, 181 yards, 3 TDs rushing, 1 TD receiving. That man right there, when he broke away for the 75-yard touchdown in the first half, he surpassed 1,000 yards, which makes him and Chubb both 1,000 rushers, the first time that's happened in school history, and they could be the best duo in college football ever, Daniel.
If they're not number one, they're in the top 5, and that you won't take long to get to those two guys. What they've meant to this program, and you talked about the stats and the accomplishments, but the leadership of these guys, with other guys like Lorenzo Carter, and we saw them come back for their senior season and what they've been able to accomplish, and they're not done yet. But the two of them, what they did tonight, we saw people on Twitter saying, "Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball."
I think I was one of those.
Screaming, "Run the ball!" But then you also see Jake Fromm, 20 of 29 throwing the ball, and what he was able to accomplish at the end of the game, to go into overtime as a true freshman. It was a complete team effort, and I know they gave up 48 points, and you can say, "Well, how did the defense didn't play as well?" But in the second half, the defense looked like the Georgia defense, the junkyard dog defense that we've seen all year. And they made the big plays. They had the big interception to set up a touchdown, and they just got it done. And then they got it done in the overtime as well. And a complete team effort, from Rodrigo making the long field goals to Mecole with the returns on the kickoff and the punt, and then the offense and the defense getting everything done. It's just the coaching staff, the team, the fans, what they were able to do, taking over Pasadena. We talk about Dog Nation invasion on this show a lot, and on our side a lot. That's what it was tonight in Pasadena.
Yeah, and Roquan Smith, we didn't hear his name a lot in the first half, and he got some big stops in the second. So a complete turnaround for the defense. But let's talk about Jake Fromm too. Look at these stats: 20 for 29, 210 yards, 2 TDs. What a night for the freshman. I know you touched on him before, but what a night for the freshman. He's just 19 years old, playing up against the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback.
The main thing I like is that number on the right that says no interceptions. I mean, he's the Heisman Trophy winner, made a throw a pick, and it cost his team. The true freshman did not throw any picks, did not make any mistakes, did not hurt his team, and that's one of the reasons Georgia won this game tonight.
We also want to get some of your comments in, and they're rolling in so fast. It's hard to keep up. But Philip Jordan Wells is here, Sony and Nick with 2 rose emojis. Audrey says they played their hearts out even if we did lose, which they didn't, guys. They played like the championships. So proud of this team. So like we mentioned, they go on to play the winner of Alabama Clemson. They clinch. They clinched to the national champion. I'm so excited. I don't know if you guys can tell I'm so excited.
Who would have ever thought when this season started we'd be at this point? I mean, we thought Georgia was going to be a good team. We thought they would win the East. Well, then they won the East. I thought they were going to win the SEC. They did. But to just say, think about where this team was last year, and now they're in the championship game. It's just an amazing, amazing thing.
All right, I'm Hannah Chalker. This is Daniel Shirley. This is your Dixie Vodka Postgame Show. We finally have Brandon Adams and B.A. You are live in Pasadena. My friend, what did you think of this game?
It was one of the most dramatic moments I think that any of us can remember as folks who follow Georgia, or really, even folks here in California who just watch this Rose Bowl every single season. This was a Rose Bowl not to be forgotten, and for Georgia fans, it's going to live on in lore forever. Obviously, the first half could not have gone worse for Georgia. Baker Mayfield could not be stopped. The up-tempo Oklahoma offense was every bit as advertised. But I thought that Lincoln Riley, the Sooners coach, made a crucial mistake there at the end of the first half. While all the media on Twitter were patting him on the back for being a genius for the double reverse pass back to Baker Mayfield, he squibs the resulting kickoff, the ensuing kickoff. Georgia sort of gifted 3 points there, kind of bringing this thing within 2 scores. And I thought that set the stage for this to be a manageable second half. And frankly, I thought that gave Kirby Smart probably a little bit of extra, credibility to the message at the half, which is Georgia can come back, Georgia can win this game. I thought getting points there late, it may have seemed inconsequential at the time, but when it's all said and done, I thought that was a crucial step towards what happened, obviously, for Georgia in the second half, where the running game got going in a big way. All of a sudden, Mayfield started misfiring a little more. Georgia got after him. I mean, the last I checked, they had at least 5 sacks today. They may have added another one after I saw that number, but they got after the quarterback in a big way in the second half. And guys, for me, that's kind of the story there. It's the way the first half provided a bit of a springboard for Georgia into the second half, And at that point in time, you saw a Georgia team that's off and running. Is that kind of the way that y'all saw it as well?
Yeah, Brandon, I thought that was huge at the end of the first half. What did you see on the field and from the stadium, just how the team's aggressiveness changed in the second half? They looked like a much more aggressive team in the second half.
Yeah, they did. I think, Daniel, what that comes down to is that in the first half, I thought there was kind of an untold story, which was a lot of attention was paid to Baker Mayfield, and with a good reason. Mayfield's the Heisman Trophy winner. He's a terrific quarterback. I mean, you can't say anything about him that hasn't already been said. But the real story for me in the first half, though, is that Oklahoma was getting rushing yards. They were compiling yards. They were getting significant yards per carry, and it was that issue that I thought was plaguing Georgia in a big way in the first half. And in the second half, Georgia just looked a bit more like Georgia. You know, obviously, when you're playing the spread offense, they call it a spread for a reason. All 11 defenders are sort of stretched sideline to sideline, and the beef up front doesn't have a lot of reinforcements to help bring down the running game. Anderson's a really good back. Sermon's from Georgia. He's a really good back. Those guys, I thought, asserted themselves well in the first half. But as you said, in the second half, this was a Georgia team that looked more like Georgia. And I don't know if y'all have had a chance to mention this yet, but I think it's worth mentioning right here now. Obviously, Georgia fans are going to celebrate this because it's a victory. But for me, what makes it extra sweet is I did not want the weird, ugly irony of this game ending because Sony Michel's fumble. Y'all know this. You've covered Georgia in your own ways for many, many years. Michel's one of the all-time great backs to come through this program. He's one of the best senior running backs that Georgia's ever had. He and Nick Chubb both could probably share that honor a little bit. It was going to have been so cruel and so bitter and, frankly, just so wrong in keeping with everything else that had gone on with Michel in his career had his fumble been a reason that Georgia lost. You love the fact that he, instead of potentially being viewed in some circles as a GOAT, he's now viewed as a hero. For me, and I think a lot of fans that are watching right now and paying attention to this and celebrating in their own way wherever they are, I think there's a little extra part of that makes that just a little bit sweeter is it's a corrected record on Sony Michel, who does get to go out as the hero he deserves to be.
Brandon, you're not going to be able to see this, but we're going to show the final stats on the screen. Unbelievable night. Both teams over 500 yards of total offense. Daniel, what do you see here?
It was just amazing where we talked about Oklahoma's offense all week getting ready for the game. We didn't talk about Georgia's offense as much, and then Georgia puts up the kind of numbers that they put up, and they were balanced just as much as Oklahoma was, and they really held up their end of the bargain throughout the entire game. Brandon, when you saw the drive at the end of regulation and just the plays that Jake Fromm made, it's what we've been talking about with him all year, right? He's not just a game manager. He can make any play that you need made to win a game.
Yeah, Daniel, that's well said. He's more than a game manager. He's the kind of guy that you can trust in the spot. And frankly, I thought that Jim Chaney was trying to balance a tough situation in this game tonight, because if you're following along on social media, you really see Chaney taking some criticism on both sides during this game. At one point in time, he's criticized for not running the ball enough, and obviously the stats gave you a reason to think that was a justifiable point to make because Georgia was having success, and maybe there were possessions where Michel and Chubb neither one touched the ball. Chaney's getting some criticism for that. Then in the second half, when Georgia does try to run it, they go 3 and out there in kind of a late crucial stage in the game. Some people are going to say on social media, hey, that's Jim Chaney not being aggressive enough when he had a chance to kind of salt the game away. You know how this works. All of you have been around this kind of stuff for a while. Offensive coordinators feel the heat. But Chaney, kind of handling that on both sides today, with Jake Fromm in particular, setting him up for a game plan that I thought Fromm could be successful with. Because, frankly, Georgia is more physical than Oklahoma, but there is also a sense in which you've got to you've got to throw some misdirection Oklahoma's way, because if Oklahoma knows the running play is coming, well, even after a while, undersized defense for the Sooners is going to have some success. So I thought Fromm was used very effectively to set up that running game and obviously keep the chains moving here in the late stage of the game, including overtime. I thought that Fromm came up big, as he has for Georgia all season long. I know there's a lot of excitement about Justin Fields. I've obviously contributed to that. The 5-star quarterback in class 2018 has the makings of a really unique athlete. But Jake Fromm is more than just a good athlete. He's more than just a good player. There is something about him that almost feels special because he withstood the pressure that comes from being a starter in his first game at Notre Dame. Imagine that as the venue that you start your first football game in. Then he goes on the road at Tennessee, plays in the SEC championship game, now in the Rose Bowl. and he's just taking it all in stride. We had a chance to talk to him for a few minutes in an exclusive interview earlier this week, and not only is he not fazed by it, I think he was honestly allowing himself to enjoy it a little bit, which in a weird way I do think is a part of being successful. It's more than just sort of having a neutral viewpoint on a big game and saying I can handle this. It's saying not only can I handle this, I can thrive on it because these are the kinds of moments that I was made for. That may be myth-making to a certain extent, but if you believe it, well, it's going to at least feel true.
Brandon, you talked about Sony Michel being one of those seniors who had a big game. What a great game for Lorenzo Carter to get the block on the field goal. And that senior class, how much we've talked about they've meant for this program, they just all stepped up big again tonight.
Yeah, they really did. And, for me, it was sort of a bookend. I mentioned the Notre Dame game a moment ago. The way that game finished with that golden spiked shoulder pads, that's Georgia's. Kirby Smart's called it a toy before. Their toy that they bring out when they get a turnover. A blocked field goal is going to count as a turnover, certainly a change of possessions. In the same way, you saw another outside linebacker, Davin Bellamy, wearing those golden spikes as he got the sack against Brandon Wimbush that won the Notre Dame game. It sort of started this entire ride. Was Lorenzo Carter wearing that tonight at the end of this game? And it's another one, as you said, Daniel, another one of those seniors who has contributed in more than just on field. Carter is a very good player. I believe that he's going to be a long-time NFL player. I don't know how high he's going to get drafted. That's not really my bag to make those kinds of predictions. But I do believe he's an NFL player, and you look at his body, how can he not be? But he's more than just a good player. He is also the kind of guy that has provided this much-needed leadership to Georgia. And every player we talked to this week all talked about kind of a big change from this spring, this summer, these camp practices leading up to the start of the season from the 2016 year. And Kirby Smart, I think, attributes a lot of that to those seniors, and certainly one of those is Lorenzo Carter. A absolutely unbelievable performance and a terrific win for the Georgia Bulldogs here today. Obviously, it's been a thrill to be in Pasadena for it. 54-48. I know we're really excited. I know you all feel the same way that I do. In that, in just a few minutes, we hope to be able to bring the Kirby Smart press conference right now. Oklahoma coach Lincoln Riley is speaking actually just a few feet from where I'm standing right here now in the bowels of the Rose Bowl Stadium. And Daniel and Hannah, I know that you're both really excited about having a chance to speak to Georgia coach or hear from Georgia coach Kirby Smart in just a moment.
Yeah, very excited about that. But speaking of Lincoln Riley, a name I have not heard you said yet, well, not very much. Baker Mayfield. You've been there with the flu antics. He didn't show up to his press conference one of the days, and then he did show up, and then he did the slit throat antics on the sidelines. What was your assessment of Baker Mayfield and how the Georgia defense handled him, especially in the second half?
Yeah, I think the theme for Georgia all season long has been the idea of the revenge tour. There was getting revenge against the teams that had beaten Georgia back in 2016. That's what Tennessee was. It's what Florida was. It's what Vanderbilt was. Even Georgia Tech. Those were teams that had beaten Georgia last year. Georgia got revenge and beat them this year, and the players kind of talked about that a little bit. Kirby Smart has talked about that. Then you can make a case that the SEC championship game was also a version of that same revenge tour because Auburn had beaten up Georgia at Jordan-Hare Stadium back in November, and Georgia didn't like that too much. Didn't like some of the things that Auburn coach Gus Malzahn had said, and they sort of treated, I think, based on what we heard after the fact, they sort of treated that SEC championship game as its own sort of addition and addendum to the revenge tour. Well, I think tonight you can add another chapter to that revenge tour because, DawgNation.com had it. I know y'all have all seen it. For all I know, you may have even played it on this broadcast. Baker Mayfield slashing the throat, saying the game is over. He sort of gave, I think, we'll find out if the Georgia players are even aware of it. They may not have been, but it certainly is in keeping with the theme of, players and coaches that have run their mouth about Georgia this season. Georgia's sort of found a way to get retribution, and this is an example of that tonight. And by the way, Baker Mayfield is speaking to the media right now. No word on if he's going to feign the flu or not, but he is speaking to the media as we speak at the moment.
Brandon, when you saw the Georgia fans starting to arrive yesterday, you kind of said you've been out there all week. You started to see them coming in Friday and Saturday and then Sunday and then getting ready for today's game. Any doubt in your mind that the Georgia fans were just going to dominate that stadium tonight?
Yeah, I will say this, though. The Georgia fans did obviously dominate the stadium, but it was kind of interesting that when you got in there were actually more Oklahoma fans than the week may have led you to believe. Even the day-to-day would have led you to believe, hey, I'm colorblind, so I can't tell the difference between red and crimson. Georgia did have the majority of the fans, but there were actually a few more Oklahoma fans than you might have thought, and moments when Oklahoma was doing well, that crowd was making noise. I think one of the things that happened here is that Oklahoma, I think maybe a lot of their fans actually drove. I don't know how far it is from Norman to L.A. That's not walking around information that I possess, but it's certainly much closer than Athens, Georgia is. And so Georgia fans were obviously making use of airplanes and that kind of travel. Oklahoma fans, maybe they were taking more of the RVs or the little more manageable road trips. And so you didn't see Oklahoma fans during the week or the weekend, but you did see them here today on game day. So Georgia had the majority of the stadium, probably its entire line and maybe both end zones. But the Sooners fans that were here were making a good bit of news, and this is, or I should say, a good bit of noise, I meant to say. This is obviously a fan base that very much loves their team, and this was not, a Notre Dame situation, for instance, where Georgia completely took over that stadium. I don't think the Sooners fans were going to allow that today, but certainly by the end of the game, it was only Georgia that was cheering, and obviously Oklahoma fans left to wonder what's next for their very young head coach Baker, I should say Lincoln Riley. Let me also mention one more thing, guys, and then I'll let you guys, set some more questions here. I'm really thankful to have Dixie Vodka as a part of the Dixie Vodka Postgame Show. Y'all have been hearing me say this really all season long. I truly believe it is the South's best tasting vodka, and you know what? As it turns out, it tastes pretty good out here in L.A. as well. So I'm happy to report that the South's best tasting vodka still works out here in Southern California. Maybe that's the trick here as well. But the South's best tasting vodka has come out here to Southern California. So you can pick up Dixie Vodka anywhere. They've been doing free shipping during the holiday season. If you want to order it online, we just love Dixie Vodka, the South's best tasting vodka, and really excited about having them here with us for the Dixie Vodka Postgame Show on the road tonight from Pasadena.
And Brandon, there's going to be a lot of reason to drink the Dixie Vodka and to celebrate tonight and throughout the next week. Can you just even believe and let yourself believe the Dawgs, everybody's Dawgs, are going to be playing in the national championship game next week?
Yeah, no, I can tell you that I don't know if this just was the way that I was feeling and I was projecting it onto the people in the stands, but in the final 5 minutes of the game in preparation for the show, we were down there right in front of the tunnel, right on the field, basically right in front of where our broadcast was going to be. And I don't mind telling you, y'all know this. I sort of wear my emotions on my sleeve for all the various shows that I do. And I was tying myself in knots. I was very anxious about what was going to go down. And I sort of sensed maybe a little bit of that from some of the Georgia fans, too. They were obviously making a lot of noise and cheering, and the celebration was certainly full-throated when the victory came down. But I think the magnitude of what you just described probably was on all of our minds a little bit. Now, the players, the coaches, I'm sure they were just head down and doing what they do, which is play and coach their sport. But for fans, you couldn't help but think that this was more than just another game. This was, in an overtime situation, you're one play away from punching a ticket. Not just play for a national championship. That's great in any year. But to play for a national championship in your own building. I mean, you saw what it looked like at Mercedes-Benz for the SEC championship. And listen, I have great respect for Clemson, Alabama, both the teams and the fans. They're not going to allow Georgia to come in and completely take that building over either. But Georgia is going to do its best to try to. And you saw how it worked out for LSU a couple times to be playing national championship type games in the Superdome there in New Orleans. So the stakes for Georgia were as high as they've been in my lifetime, frankly. And they came up as big as you could possibly come up in a moment like that. It is, for me, and I hope the Georgia fans, whether they were inside Pasadena or watching on TV, the one thing I said all week long, guys, was find some friends and get close with them and settle in, family, whomever, whoever you've enjoyed Georgia football with in the past, enjoy this game with them. And I hope people did that. I hope people made a memory out of it because it was one of the all-timers. And I was really thankful to have been able to experience it.
Brandon, while we wait for Kirby Smart to sit down in the press conference room, so everybody's going to want to stick around for that here on the Dixie Vodka Postgame Show. You touched on it a little bit. We know how the atmosphere was in the SEC Championship, a ton of red and black. Yep. And you touched on it a little bit, the atmosphere in Pasadena and the Rose Bowl. What was it like to be sitting there in the press box, double overtime? I mean, sweat dripping off your face, Brandon? What was the atmosphere like?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was incredible, and part of that is the great respect that you have to have for Baker Mayfield. Now, I don't mind telling you, as a fan, Mayfield kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I try to be as candid as I possibly can be. I don't mind telling you, as a fan, there's something about him that can be just a little bit irritating. However, I'm not so clouded by that I can't give great respect to him as a player. So yeah, you're beside yourself with emotions and intensity, but part of that is the respect that you have for this guy, that you can sort of make something happen out of nothing. And he is a magician. He is one of those guys that just sort of finds a way to kind of dig in and find a way to get it going there. And so the entire time in that overtime situation, you're thinking about that this is a guy that you've got to keep contained, because he's going to be able to step up there and make a play kind of out of nowhere. By the way, Alabama does lead Clemson 10-3, it looks like, here early in the second quarter. Some of the media watching that here in the media room while we're waiting on the Kirby Smart to join us here on the Dixie Vodka Postgame Show. But, yeah, so part of those emotions for that overtime are just the concern that you have for what Baker Mayfield might be able to do in that spot.
Brandon, what about Kirby Smart coming back to his alma mater? This is what Georgia wanted him to do. This is why he was hired. And in 2 years, he's got them in that spot with a chance to win the championship.
Yeah, I think that Kirby Smart, when he spoke to the media yesterday, first of all, he was incredibly tired. He visually looked different than I had seen him. Now, I'm not in Athens every day, so I don't lay eyes on him a lot necessarily. A lot of what I see from him in press conferences kind of comes through video. But of the times that I've seen him in a one-on-one situation or in the same room, I had not seen him look as tired as he looked yesterday. I think the week, like it must have on Lincoln Riley. I know it did on Dabo Swinney and Nick Saban. They both kind of joked about this a little bit as well. There's so much stuff that goes into one of these playoff-level bowl games that by the end of the week, you just want to play the game. And I think Kirby Smart had some of that going on yesterday. And maybe because of that, he was a little more candid, a little more blunt than he otherwise would have been. And he did talk at the beginning of his press conference yesterday about a sense of complacency. By the way, we're getting close to seeing Kirby Smart start here. So y'all get ready to pull me off when you're ready to take him. Looks like this. All right, they're actually beginning. Let me say goodbye to y'all, and we'll take Kirby Smart here live as he gets ready to speak.
Thanks, Brandon. Here we go. Kirby Smart, everybody. So the final score one more time, 54-48 in double overtime. And if you're just now joining us here on the Dixie Vodka Postgame Show, I'm Hannah Chalker alongside Daniel Shirley. And here's the head coach himself, Kirby Smart. Let's listen in.
Both fan bases did a tremendous job. I want to give a lot of compliments to Oklahoma. Coach Riley does a great job. I mean, Lincoln's been a problem for a lot of defenses, and he created a lot for us tonight. He does a really good job. But our kids are so resilient. They never stopped chopping wood. They kept fighting. They believed. There was offensive players affecting defensive players in the locker room at halftime, and they kept fighting. We didn't play the way we were capable of, but the best news is we get a chance to play again. So I'm really proud of the fight, the resiliency, the seniors, and our fan base.
Thanks, Coach. We'll start here in the front.
Hi, Steve Futterman from CBS News. Congratulations to all three of you. Sonny, could I ask you what it was like on that last run? Did it seem like a fast run, a slow run? Could you get to the goal any faster than that? And what was going through your heart and mind when you realized you had won the game?
I mean, when the play was called, everybody just looked each other in the eyes, and it was 11 guys just executing the play, and everybody did their job, and it was successful for us. I mean, when I scored a touchdown, I knew it was over. We finally get a chance to, play for something big.
Okay, we have a question right there.
Lindsay Schnell, USA Today. Kirby, the other day we asked Roquan, can you guys imagine winning a game like 48-45? And he laughed and said it would probably give you a heart attack. So you're obviously thrilled that you guys won, but is a part of you like dead on the inside as a defensive guy that you gave up 48 points?
Yeah, I'm really disappointed and upset. I didn't think we played to the level we're capable of. I do think that the players fought, and they are a good offensive football team. But, man, we stunk it up and played really bad. I want to give a lot of kudos to the offense for staying behind us and fighting, and the defensive players doing that. But if it was a measure of heart attack, I would be on the Richter scale pretty high.
We have a question here in the front.
Yeah, Barry Trammell with the Oklahoma, and Kirby and Roquan, you guys were lit up pretty good in the first half, but not in the second half. Oh, you had 10 possessions in the second half and scored 10 points. What'd you do differently? You really got after Baker. He didn't have time to throw much in the second half. What was different after halftime?
We played with passion. We played with energy. We played with enthusiasm. We ran to the ball better. We tackled a little better, and we played a little more aggressive.
It was just the halftime adjustments. We knew we wasn't really playing our style of defense in the first half, so we just had to come in. You know, we knew we was going to face some adversity throughout the game, and just had to make those adjustments and then just come out and play with a little more passion.
We have a question here on the left.
Yeah, this is for Sony. Was there anything particular that you or Nick saw in the Oklahoma defense that you took advantage of? You guys had a really big game running.
We just wanted to, play our style of football. Oklahoma has a great defense. They created a lot of 3-and-outs for us. We just had to keep pounding. We had faith in each other, and all 11 guys on offense just kept grinding.
Coach, right here. It looked like Steve Finley from the Culver City News. It looked like things changed in the third quarter when you kind of went to a 4-3 instead of a 3-4.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was that simple. I can't sit here and say that we did that exclusively. We did play a little more 4-down in the second half, but I don't know that was it. I really just think the emotion and the players settled down and played with a little more discipline and a little more passion and energy. It wasn't like there was a magic sprinkle dust. We called the same defenses we called in the first half. We just played them better. I mean, we didn't even get them to third down in the first half, I don't think once. So it's not indicative of who we are, and we got to do a better job as coaches to put our players in a successful situation, and that's my most disappointing thing, that I didn't do a good job.
A question here on the left.
Kirby, it seemed like the game either changed or momentum swung your way significantly with that run for the roses that Nick had, that 50-yard run. Your emotions during that time?
Just proud. I mean, look at 27-1 have put this team on their shoulders, and all they do is do it right. They come to all the meetings. They're in special teams meetings. They compete. And to see them racing down the field, I mean, it really embodies what this team is about. And, they say that adversity kind of reveals character. I think it exposes character for sure. And we found out we got a pretty good character team.
We have a question in the back in the orange.
Kevin Figures, Fox Sports Radio. Coach, Jake Fromm has played well for you all season long, but how impressed were you with the way you performed today, especially with all the pressure on, down a couple of scores, never seemed rattled, made some huge plays, scrambling around, making touchdown throws. How impressed were you with that a true freshman can play that well on a stage this big?
Well, I think when you got 1 in 27, it certainly makes it a little more doable. And you got 6 and 5 outside. He's got some good people around him. But, again, Jake, he continues to grow as a player. He puts us in the right play. He makes good decisions with the ball. He protects the ball. So he does a lot of good things, and I'm really proud of his growth, And I think the kid's got a bright future. And as long as you have a good run game and our offensive line creates running lanes for 1 in 27, it's hard to play defense against these two guys. I mean, it's tough.
We have time for 2 more questions. We have one on the left there.
Alex Soderstrom, the Red and Black. Sony, and you had a 38-yard touchdown run. It looked like before the run you said something to Jake, like changing the play. What was it you said to him, and what did you see?
It was just clarification of what the play was. He called the play. I was just making sure that was the right play.
One of them was on the shot clock. He told him to hurry up.
Roquan, at halftime, Kirby said that he thought you guys just needed to settle down, that you were playing a little nervous. Did you feel that you guys were just maybe overly hyped?
I don't exactly know what the feeling was. I just knew he wasn't playing to our style and whatever that was, so we had to make those adjustments, and we did that. We played a little better in the second half, but not to our standard. But, we expected that from a great Oklahoma team.
Thank you, Coach, and thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. I also want to say this, guys. The Tournament of Roses people have been tremendous here. They do a great job with this. We got treated with the utmost respect all week, and they really catered to our players, and they absolutely enjoyed this event. And that was win or lose. They got a class act, and they do it the right way. Thank you, guys.
College football playoff semifinals, but you wouldn't know it by looking at head coach Kirby Smart. He kind of has the poker face like Nick Saban. What did you think about what he said?
Well, he's a coach, and they won a game. He's happy they won the game, but he's not happy about the mistakes that they made early on that got him behind, but he loved what he saw from his team, the grit, the heart, the guts in the second half to make the big plays when they made the big plays. And now here they are playing for a national championship. I mean, this is just, if you're a Georgia fan of any kind of age, my age or about that age, I'm in my mid-40s, I'll say that, this is something you've been waiting for since 1980, and now you've got a chance. It's just huge. It's monumental. What he's been able to do in just his second year, I mean, think about that. This isn't a 10-year plan or a 5-year plan. This is Kirby in his second year getting his alma mater to a national championship game. And I think that makes it even more special that it is his alma mater. He's not some guy they brought in from the outside. This is who they hired to get this done, and they're one game away from winning a national championship. And I think that's what makes it even more special for Georgia fans.
I mean, you said the last national championship for Georgia was 1980.
1980.
Has it sunk in? Has it sunk in for you guys?
I mean, I was 10 years old when Georgia won the national championship, and I remember that day, and I remember Herschel, and I remember all those great players, and then you see it's been, you know, a road to get back here, and now they are back here, and it just makes it even more special for everybody involved. We've seen it on our Facebook page. We've seen the reaction. People saying they just fell down on their floor. They cried like a baby. Screaming. I mean, that's what this means to people. That's why we love sports. That's why we love college football. And it's just been an amazing day for Georgia fans.
And lastly, Georgia plays the winner of Clemson, Alabama, who are playing right now. Alabama up 10-3 in the second quarter. They play Monday, January 8th in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, right back at home for Georgia.
That's right.
Just thoughts on that game, and what if this is an SEC versus SEC national championship?
SEC versus SEC or Georgia-Clemson, which is an old rivalry that people my age remember those games. But SEC would be unbelievable. I mean, Alabama, Georgia, we kind of thought it was going to be that in the SEC championship game. We didn't get that in the SEC championship game. And then now the chance to get that in the title game, just unbelievable. The SEC, the first time that a conference has had two teams, even in the playoff, and now they would have two teams in the championship game. It would just cap just what a great year for both of those programs if they were able to play next Monday night.
All right, guys, thanks so much for sticking with us. Brandon Adams as well. He was live with us from Pasadena at the Rose Bowl. Let me give you that final score one more time. How can I forget? 54-48. Georgia heading to the college football national championship for the first time since 1980. This is Dog Nation editor Daniel Shirley. I'm Hannah Chalker. You've been watching the Dixie Vodka Postgame Show, the South's best tasting vodka. Hope you guys go take a couple swigs. We might take a couple swigs.
That's right.
It's been a long evening here on Dog Nation. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.